that stuff doesn't really scare me because, first of all, what they want with me, I don't know.
Welcome to Disability Clinic, where we are your animal wranglers today with Haywood Hollywood Horses.
But that's why back at the Haywood Ranch, as the only black-owned horse trainers in Hollywood, we like to say since the moment pitchers could move, yeah, skin in the game.
Love watching movies with you. Guys, we're gonna do Nope next year. Like, we're gonna finish the trifecta next year.
Yeah, we got to.
Yep.
Yeah, Nope is serious. Nope is.
I know. I'm so excited for that.
Nope is gonna require some work.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Van. I'm a Vietnamese woman with long dark hair, wearing a gray sweatshirt, sitting in front of a colorful bookshelf full of disability advocacy memorabilia. This spooky season, we're breaking down Jordan Peele's third film, simply titled Nope. But this isn't like all the other breakdowns you've seen because we're breaking down the film while critiquing the audio description track and exploring the nuances of this chilling story through a disability lens. I'm so excited to be joined today by Thomas Reed, audio description narrator and host of Read My Mind Radio, and actor and producer Ajane A.J. Murray. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome back.
Yay, thank you.
Great to be here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Thomas Reed. I'm a brown-skinned black man with a smooth, shaven bald head, full, neat beard with salt and pepper. I'm wearing dark shades and a black button-down shirt. I'm seated in my vocal booth, which has some tan curtains around it, and that's in my home in the Poconos, which by law, I need to let you know, is only 90 minutes from the place I will always call home, and that's the Bronx, New York.
Hi, my name is Ajane A.J. Murray. I'm a dark-skinned black man with a light green collared short sleeve shirt on. I'm in my room with a blue background, and I'm in a power chair, and I have black gamer headphones on.
Towards like the opening of the film, I think it opens with the introduction to that TV show, Gordy's Home.
An applause sign flashes over the audience bleachers beyond the set. The bloody chimp takes off its party hat and throws it down. It looks directly at the hiding person nearby. Cut to black. A Jordan Peele film.
And then we get introduced to like the farm and OJ and his dad.
Keep our heads up out the clouds on this one. I know.
The young man watches as the older man climbs into the western saddle atop the horse.
Yeah. We land this. I mean, we really put on a show? Well, you know they got to bring us back for the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the opening credits, like I think the audio description talks about there's shiny fabric and there's a tunnel.
A title appears over black. Nope. A slow-moving view travels down a square tunnel lined with a shiny, fabric-like material. The tunnel leads to a dark void. Credits appear.
And then you hear the credits and you're just like, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strange like lineup of different pieces of the story we're getting introduced to. Did you feel like the audio description kind of laced all that together? Or was there anything jarring about the opening?
When I watched that, it was like, okay, what the heck is this opening about? Like, what is this?
I think it is Jordan Peele doing Nope.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely felt like, what the hell is going on? Like, I didn't know how it was connected, but I was like, this is Jordan Peele, so I know at some point I'm going to get it.
You know, I would say thank you.
If there was another connection, like immediate or quicker than that, I didn't get it.
No, that's the thing. I do think it was kind of choppy.
One of the things that I noticed, like some of the other reviews were describing the different things that Jean Jacket was. Unless I wasn't paying attention, I didn't really notice like the different iterations of Jean Jacket. So and I was like, oh, I didn't notice that when I watched it. Maybe it's me or maybe that wasn't described.
No, that definitely wasn't described.
Yeah, I thought it was me.
Yeah, we're limited to the time available and the choices that they have to make. And so often those little Easter eggs and stuff like that are going to be missed. They're going to be missed.
And it's a totally authentic experience to be like, wait a minute, I think there's some key imagery that I'm missing because the audio description wasn't able to capture all of it. I think that's totally fair and like a fair bit of feedback or criticism for what the industry can improve on. How about this? Why don't we watch this first scene where I think there's some visuals of Jean Jacket? So it's like nighttime. They've sold Lucky to Jupe, and OJ's just out on the farm because one of their horses kind of ran off.
Outside, OJ continues to stare at the sky. He catches a glimpse of a flying disc-shaped object in a gap between clouds.
This is the first time that there's a visual hint that something is up in the sky. And the electronics are browning out. So there's this association of like something about Jean Jacket messes with the electronics. And then OJ sees a glimpse of something darting through the sky. And there's like this audio stinger.
I noticed they do something like that when the audience themselves is not supposed to know. So they'll just give like a vague description.
Yeah, that's in terms of like naming it though. So you're right where they won't name something because it hasn't been named yet, and naming it right now would give it away. But if they have the time to describe, and this is what they like to say, is that describe what you see. You can describe what you see while still maintaining the secretness or whatever it is, right? But that's in terms of naming something. You can still describe it, right? So they didn't have to say,
like, I don't
this
like
is
it
Jean
either.
Jacket. They didn't have to say it at that time. That would have been a spoiler.
I think like, and subsequent imagery of Jean Jacket, right? And we're saying Jean Jacket because we've seen to the end of the movie, but like sometimes the audio description narrator will say like it's a smooth, dark UFO or a strange craft or sausage.
OJ! It's in the cloud!
OJ stares up. Wind blows down from the puffy cloud. Turning, OJ sprints away up the long path leading to the house. Shaped like a massive disc, the smooth, dark UFO glides through the clouds overhead.
Did you feel like her image or her figure gradually came together for you throughout the movie?
No.
I'm going to say the same, but this is where I think I would need assistance remembering the descriptions from earlier. And so some work remembering,
How would you describe Jean Jacket? Like what image comes into your mind?
I'm not as young as I used to be.
You have like no image. Like, do you think she's just like a big blob?
No. I think I remember some, and it's funny because this is so wild. No, because I'm working on this project, and it wasn't a UFO, but for some reason, this description that I had to narrate keeps coming to mind, and it's like this. It was a circular object, and there was some conversation, and should we call it a donut or a bagel? And it was this whole thing that was going on.
The mental image that I remember, it reminded me of like a parachute or something.
Okay,
Like, we used to play this game in like PE with like a parachute, and it kind of reminded me of like just a big parachute just sucking everything up.
I think parachute actually is one of the words the narrator uses towards the end, especially because Jean Jacket, like you said, she does evolve in her form and her shape changes. So parachute is definitely a word. And I think bagel or donut is also pretty accurate because like it's like a big round flying saucer, and from the underneath, like it's kind of like a grayish white all around, and then there's a big dark hole in the middle.
Leaning over, he peers up at the sky as he opens the door a few inches. Lightning flashes, revealing the alien directly above him. OJ shuts his door.
Nope.
I'm working on this sort of theory around the AD experience, right? So from your first introduction to later on, what I realized is that there's this level of pressure when you're watching something because you're trying to get all of this right, and you're trying to get as much of information as possible, and then you're comparing it if you're in conversation with someone, and then you realize certain things that you missed, and then it's like, okay, you missed it. So even the way I just phrased that, right? You missed it. It can often feel like a personal thing, like when you don't grasp a certain part of that content, but it's not necessarily you, it's because of the AD. And it's not a criticism on the AD, it's because The AD had all the limitations, right?
Yeah, there was this limited amount of time, or the concept that you often advocate for, or that's in theater. A lot of film doesn't have. So,
But even with the pre-show, and I'm still an advocate for pre-show, right? But that's even more pressure sometimes because you can consume that, but you're not going to remember everything, right?
Mhm.
You're not
yeah,
going to remember
yeah.
everything. And even visually, you're not going to remember everything, but it feels like there's this added pressure because I now have this level of access. So what's wrong with me if I miss it? You know what I'm saying? I can talk a lot about certain movies, but I may be wrong because I missed something.
But
You know,
that's why
from
it's
my analysis.
interesting. I was like, damn, I miss all the ways that Jean Jacket was. I miss all the
Yeah.
transformations.
Well, and
I
I
See, I
didn't
want
think
to
even
free you
notice.
from that. I'm trying to free you from that and say you didn't miss it. It just wasn't made accessible to you, bro.
Truth.
That's it.
Right.
And
there
that's
you
the way
go.
I feel. So this is a freedom for you and a disclaimer for me. I might not get this right in this conversation.
I think that is spot on, that the access wasn't there. It's understandable that there's this pressure, like, oh, I want to be able to talk about the movie and the imagery with everybody else who got to experience the movie. But when the AD doesn't fully capture that, that is not on you. When I was watching the movie, of course, there's all these little visual details that get missed, in addition to the big things like what does Jean Jacket look like? That's obviously something that you want to carry through the audio description. But there were even subtle things like there's that fake horse that Jean Jacket ingests and like messes with its digestion and it spits it out. Well, the fake horse had flags on it.
A string of flags flaps from the trailer.
Now come on, help me out.
Angel follows her.
Got you.
They face the rearing horse statue.
Okay, so what is it? Is it like bait?
But something the audio description missed was that the fake horse had little reflectors on its eyes.
The horse statue crashes headfirst through the windshield on the passenger side. OJ cowers in his seat. Slowly lowering his arm from his face, he looks over at the horse.
And so that's why when OJ is riding his horse and trying to lure Jean Jacket away, he puts his hood up and there's reflectors on the back of his hood. And that was in the audio description.
OJ puts on his hood with 2 round light reflectors stuck to the top. He rides away on Lucky.
To kind of mimic that fake horse and like scare Jean Jacket off. And I'm like, the audio description totally, unfortunately, wasn't able to capture that.
That's what I wanted to say. Like the audio description industry, even though, you know, I'll come down on them and whatever and about certain things, but again, working with very strict limitations. And so what they would need, and this is up to the film industry, is that time to be able to describe it, or not having the need to describe it because it's somehow included in an alternative format within the film itself.
I wish the filmmakers, I wish someone behind the creative themes of the film had worked with the audio description people to pick out details. Maybe you can't get every single detail,
Right.
but just to pick out those little gems
Yeah.
where someone could really get that richness out of the audio description.
Yeah.
It's things that I wish that the AD is able to express for the things that I can see that maybe my fully blind friends won't be able to see, like the way the cinematography is, like, because what I can see, I thought the cinematography was really good. The director shoots a certain way because he's trying to express a certain mood, but they're just, because of time constraints, it's not going to be able to be expressed.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I think the AD process, I feel like there's a dissertation in this somewhere, but I feel like it might be aligned in a certain case, and not directly. I'm not talking about you, AJ, in terms when I say this. For me, I think in the beginning, I did focus more on that. Right? We all have multiple senses. We take things in differently. The reason we have multiple senses is because they all have something specific to tell us and to do and to convey, right? So I don't think you can necessarily easily take one and have it conveyed by the other. And so with the cinematography, while all that stuff is fantastic and it's great and it does provide and put you in a mood, I think there are definitely other ways to do that, like with the sound design, the music, right? All of those audible elements can help with that. There's this idea that a lot of folks say, and I said it before, I said it in the past, having the audio description match. Well, I always talk about having that match the film, but I want like the AD to be on par, or my experience to be on par with that of someone who watched this film, who watched the film, right, visually. But that's not going to happen. Like that cannot happen just by the nature of the way things work, right?
Yeah.
So on par is no longer what I think we should actually be shooting for. I'm thinking we should be shooting when it comes to the AD, like there's a separate experience, and that experience is probably good because it always, for me at least, it always comes down to that story. And so
Oh.
don't try to be on par with the visuals, but make the AD work for the content and present this in a way that is going to. So imagine if, so check this out. I'm getting real experimental. Maybe it's the tea I'm drinking right now. Let's say the film wasn't conveying the information. They only had a little bit amount of time, and maybe the sound design wasn't all there, but someone added something else, some other element in the audio description that is not narration. We call it audio description. So is there room for more than just narration? I think so. Maybe it's going to change the quote unquote change the film, but it's not. It's just another level of audio to help convey something. I don't know.
Man.
I'm thinking out loud, but I feel like there's something else there for me, and I'm trying to get to that space where I'm not going to try to look for that equivalent experience. I'm going to work with my own experience and always say, hey, I watched this with AD. This is how I experienced the movie. Again, going back to that idea of the freedom, that's going to release me of this idea that I have to match you, sighted person, and I'm going to tell you about this. So we're going to change. We're going to have this exchange, and I'm going to give you my experience, and you're going to give me your experience, and then we're going to dap it up and go our separate ways.
You just changed my perception, because I think in an indirect way, in a backdoor way, like I looked at AD that way up until now, and like sometimes I would feel bad because there are some things that can't be conveyed or left out, and I'm like, well, how are my friends that have more visual impairment than I do, how are they gonna have the experience? But it's not. I had an on par mindset. You just changed my whole perception.
Cool. Or
my
maybe
whole
not.
thought
You tell me.
process.
Maybe that's not cool.
I really love the discussion of like, there's so many other ways besides just reiterating what someone might visually process, because you're right. There's some elegant things that I think happen in Nope's sound design. There's like the music, the stingers, the voices that you hear, the screaming, the like wet sound effects, and like thankfully all of those are still part of the film, right? They weren't additions, and I do think for the most part the audio description left space for that so that people could still experience that. So I think that does hint as to what you're talking to, just highlighting stuff that doesn't have to be described. It's like you're already hearing it.
I want to free myself from trying to have that sighted, quote unquote sighted experience. It's like, bruh, you're not going to have it. So that's a deeper lesson than the movies, right? Like when how the way some people feel as though, why would you want to travel if you can't see?
How exquisitely stupid is that?
You know, bro, there's other things to consume when you go other places, right? You can't go somewhere and get this food just anywhere. There's other aspects to the place than just the visuals.
Absolutely.
So.
If accessibility breakdowns are your thing, hit that like button and subscribe to Disability Clinic, and let us know what TV show or movie we should break down next. If you want to
comment as well. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say comment as well, especially with the YouTube algorithm. That really counts more with the spreading the video.
Thank you so much for watching, listening, and learning.